What about the performance itself? Have you watched that back? How did you qualify for the Paris 2024 Olympics? Did you know anyone who was involved in making the selection or any of the judges? Do you genuinely think you are the best female breaker in Australia?
Raygun has given her first interview since The Thing. You know, The Thing was pretty big. Well, after The Thing, she's been completely media silent, with the exception of one Instagram video.
Hi everyone, Raygun here.
But she's back, and she's done an interview with The Project. I can't stand The Project, but I'm forced to watch them yet again. So this interview kinda went how I thought it would. She presents herself as a light-hearted, carefree girl, just having a crack, just trying her best. But she throws in some cope, let me tell ya. There's some massive cope. Everything from, well, you just don't understand breakdancing, to we need more funding. If we just had more money, I wouldn't be such a shit dancer. And we're gonna go through some of the highlights right now.
How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely have my ups and downs, my good and bad days, but it has been honestly so amazing to see the positive response to my performance. Like, I never thought that I would be able to connect with so many people in such a positive way.
Well, that's good, I guess. She seems to be taking it well. By the way, one of those positive connections was with Richard Branson. Yes, the billionaire, Richard Branson. Apparently he and Boy George invited her to dance on his yacht, which is just, whoa, that's a bit weird. I wonder what hippy-dippy husband thinks of that.
How dark did it get for you?
Fortunately, I got some mental health support pretty quickly, and I also went off social media. I went off the internet, but it's pretty up and down, but it's also just hard to process it all, honestly. Like, it's just still pretty hard to process.
Well, I guess it would be. You became like the biggest meme of 2024. But enough of this softball shit. Let's get to the juicy stuff.
What about the performance itself? Have you watched that back?
I haven't watched it back, no. That's not unusual for me, though. I'm not great at watching back my battles. Well, it's been a month, Rachel. It's still going to take me some time, I think. I think I've seen little bits and pieces, but yeah, I'll watch it eventually.
She'll watch it eventually? Come on, this is an Olympic athlete, apparently. Imagine if there was like a boxer that lost a boxing match at the Olympics and they were just like, oh, I just don't want to watch it back, it's too hard. It just sort of goes to show the lax attitude she went into this with. Oh, I'm just there to have a crack. I did my best. It's all about having fun at the end of the day. I mean, this is meant to be world-class shit. You don't watch your battles back. You should be watching them.
It was really sad how much hate that it did evoke. And a lot of the responses, though, is also just due to people not being very familiar with breaking and the diversity of approaches in breaking. And it was so fantastic that the next day the judging chair, MG, came out and explained that, you know, in the breaking community, what I did actually wasn't very shocking.
Okay, I've said this before. I don't think she got that much hate. Like, I don't think there were many people out there that genuinely hated her. People were giving her shit. People were teasing her. People were mocking her, as they should. And did you hear how she said a lot of the responses were due to people not being very familiar with breakdancing?
A lot of the responses, though, is also just due to people not being very familiar with breaking.
Yeah, okay, lady. You just don't know breakdancing, bruh. If you knew breakdancing better, you'd think I was fucking awesome. Also, the Olympic judges don't know breakdancing, and neither do my competitors. They were doing it wrong. I was the only one there doing it right. You fuckers don't understand. Give me a break, Raygun. You made yourself look like a dork and people laughed at you. That's not people misunderstanding breakdancing. That's you being a dork.
The conspiracy theories were just awful. That was upsetting because it wasn't just people that, you know, didn't understand breaking and were just angry about my performance. It was people that are now attacking our reputation and our integrity. And look, you know, none of them were grounded in any kind of facts. And obviously, you know, they're still circulating. People still don't believe the truth, but we do live in a different world now. So I think that's just going to be part of our reality.
So people were suspicious that her hippie husband was like one of the judges that got her through to the Olympics. Now, apparently that's not true, but there was a petition calling for transparency, and I think that's fair enough. Like, who did you know on the judging panel? Now, she says she didn't know anyone, but I think it's fair to ask. Now, it's not just the general public, the Olympic judges, her competition, and anyone else who laughed at her that doesn't understand breakdancing. Apparently it's some from within the Australian breakdancing community too. But what they don't understand is they just need more money. If Raygun had just a bit more money, none of this would have happened.
A lot of the breaking community seems to have fallen in behind you. You won it fair and square, you're one of theirs. There was, however, some criticism from that community. I think it's fair to give you the chance to respond to it. So these, for example, are quotes from a breaker and a bit of a hip-hop legend in Australia called Spice, who says, I feel like it's just pushed our scene in Australia into the dark ages. It made a mockery of the Australian scene, and I think that's why a lot of us are hurting. In hip-hop, we have this thing. You step up or you step off. You need to know your place. Is there any merit in those criticisms?
Yeah, look, it is really sad to hear those criticisms. And I am very sorry for, the backlash that the community has experienced, but I can't control how people react. Unfortunately, we just need some more resources in Australia for us to have a chance to beat world champions. Historically, unfortunately, we haven't had the best track record of winning world championships. So, I don't think that's just on me. But in the last year, I have trained my hardest. I have trained so hard. Learning power moves in your mid-30s is not easy. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I believe that. By the way, I had to put in footage of that chick taking the piss out of Raygun because the project used B-roll from the Olympics, and the Olympic people have got their finger on the fucking button. They'll copyright strike you in a flash. So if there was no grand conspiracy to get her there, how exactly did Raygun get to the Olympics?
How did you qualify for the Paris 2024 Olympics?
I won the Oceania Championships.
As simple as that?
Yeah, it was a direct qualifier. Yeah.
And did you know anyone who was involved in making the selection or any of the judges?
There were 9 judges, all from overseas. I don't think any of them have judged anything that I'd been in before. I was, super nervous about it, to be honest, because even though I'd won all these competitions in Australia, I was nervous about winning this one because it was all new judges.
Well, one of those judges from New Zealand was speaking actually in your defence in explaining what had happened, and he said this.
All us judges talked about how she was going to get smashed. Absolutely smashed.
Really? And so you thought, yeah, let's send her? I mean, was there just no one there? Like, we saw that other chick, what was her name? Holly Molly? And she was miles better than Raygun. Like, does Raygun think she's actually the best female breakdancer in Australia? Luckily, Waleed Ali from the project asked her.
Do you genuinely think you are the best female breaker in Australia?
Well, I think my record speaks to that. I was the top-ranked Australian B-girl in 2020 and 2022 and 2023. I've been invited to represent at how many world championships, Paris, Korea, so the record is there, but anything can happen in a battle. It's always about what happens on the day.
All right, people want to know about the kangaroo move. Tell us about the kangaroo move.
As soon as I qualified, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Because I knew that I was going to get beaten, and I knew that people were not going to understand my style and what I was going to do. I wanted to bring out some Australian moves and themes. I love our Olympic mascot, BK, the boxing kangaroo, and I wanted to show that. And that's the wonderful thing about breaking. You can take inspiration from any source. I had to go with what I was good at. I had to go with my strengths.
Okay, fair enough. Now, this is the project. So to take us out, can we just get some shit about race? Like maybe about how she's some entitled white bitch or something?
Well, you're an academic and you write in this area. And in one of your papers, actually, you wrote about how breaking is something that emerges from marginalised communities, especially racially marginalised ones, and that the danger is when you turn it into a sport, you can actually end up excluding those very communities. Now, there have been some people who've noted that, this turned into an Olympic sport. Australia puts up a B-girl and it ends up being a white woman instead of someone from those marginalised communities. Do you think there is an irony there that's fair to comment upon?
Yeah, look, it's there's a number of white B-girls in Australia, actually. I don't know what it is about us white women and being attracted to breaking. So, you know, I think even if it went to the second or third, it still would have been a white B-girl representing.
All right, good stuff. Now, I don't think that's the last we're going to see of Raygun. I think she's going to end up on, like, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, or some shit. She's going to do something. She's going to be on a talk show. She's going to get a radio show, some shit like that. And look, power to her, I guess. I don't hate her. She seems pretty innocent. I mean, I think doing a PhD with a focus on breakdancing is absurd, but she's not really hurting anyone. Now, that opinion is subject to change once she starts writing papers on sexism and misogyny within breakdancing. We'll address that when it happens. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Follow me on Twitter. It's @bear_ing. All right, I'll see you next time. Ta-ta. Bye-bye. Recession! Give me better ties. Recession!